Hello everyone, and today we're going to be having another look at our zombie deck that we did before on the channel. I believe we went on a, might have been a 5 or a 6 win streak with this, and Damon just randomly decided to pick it up and play it. And for whatever reason, this deck always performs far better than it has any right to. It's a really fun deck that has so many different ways you can chop and change to play it. We are going to be talking about a few of the more popular alternatives, as well as the main sort of combo that exists within this idea for the deck. So we'll be getting to that at the end of the video. But for now, if you like what you're seeing and you want to see any more, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything and it really does help me out. So again, do bear that in mind. And if you want to see any decks in particular, do leave your comments down below and I always get to everyone. Or if you'd rather speak to me directly or interact with a group of like-minded individuals, you can always join the Discord, fire your questions and request deck lists, anything you want to do into the Discord, so that myself as well as everyone else there can give you a hand, or maybe even you could teach us something. So 100% jump into the Discord if that's something that suits you. We are also going to be streaming on Twitch at 6 PM BST on the 20th here, going into the new festival, the No Extra Deck Festival. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be streaming for around 3 hours, so if you want to join in on Twitch, by all means, the link is in the description. You can join in whenever you want, and notifications will also be sent out across Discord if you want to be notified whenever we're going live. So that pretty much wraps up the intro here. We're doing really well for account. I set an end of month target of 300, and in the space of a day, like 50 something people have subscribed. So you know what I mean, like I don't even know what targets to set you guys anymore. You're just amazing. So thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed. Let's get into the gameplay. Alright, getting into game number 1. Looking at the hand initially here, you wouldn't think too much of it, but Tuning is a really amazing utility card for this deck. We're going to activate it to grab the Quick Draw Synchron. Now the Quick Draw Synchron is here basically as a free summon, as well as being able to discard a card to put into the graveyard. We grab the Solitaire off of our Prosperity, which is amazing. We'll normal summon Solitaire, special summon Quick Draw by discarding the Banshee. Solitaire, it's going a bit fast for us, so Solitaire contribute itself to summon another zombie tuner from the deck that has 0 defense. We summon out the Spectral Sword purely as follow-up for next turn, because it can banish itself to synchro summon from the graveyard. Then we link summon into Crystron Hulk. Crystron Hulk will summon the Glow Up Bloom from the deck. Now we're going to use the Banshee's effect in the grave to banish her to grab a zombie world from the deck. We link summon into Linkuriboh using the Glow Up Bloom. When it's sent to the graveyard, we banish it to summon the Doom King Ballardrock from the deck. Now using Linkuriboh and Ballardrock, we go into Vampire Sucker and we set our Super Poly. And this is basically the ideal end board for the primary combo of the deck, because during the standby phase, Ballardrock comes back out to the field in defense mode. Because a card was summoned from the graveyard, Vampire Sucker lets you draw a card, or it would do if our opponent didn't have Ash. But you know what, I'll eat an Ash for a single draw. That suits me down to the ground. That is completely fine, because we still do have the ability to draw a card off of Hulk. So our opponent goes for Analyzer here, playing against Adamantipator's. We use Crystron Needle Fibers effect to banish itself to summon a Tuner Synchro monster. Ballardrock then, because a zombie was activated, will banish our opponent's Analyzer. So the way the Ballardrock works, if you don't know, whenever a zombie's effect is activated, you can either A, negate that effect, or B, banish any monster on the field or in the graveyard. And because of Zombie World, every monster on the field and in both graveyards becomes a zombie. So we're going to summon a Formula Synchron to draw an additional card. Our opponent's going to go for Miracle Rupture. I didn't really know what that was about. First time I've seen this card, but we're going to negate that with Ash. I guess, again, he just wants to get more resources into the graveyard. He's going to summon out Doki Doki here. We're going to negate that with the Ballardrock. Again, it's not one or the other. You get to use both once per turn. And then after we use the Ballardrock's negate, we quick synchro summon here using the Formula Synchron and Ballardrock in the Baron de Fleur. And then the next turn, Ballardrock comes back, and it's just crazy. So strong. And then we even had Super Poly as backup. That's why we wanted to draw the additional cards, so we had more discard fodder for Super Poly. So that's a very good demonstration of the deck and how sort of oppressive it can be, because not only do you have all of those direct interruptions, you have at least 3 negates within the Ballardrock combo itself, because it'll be 2 off of the Ballardrock and then 1 off of Baron de Fleur, which you'll summon into using your Formula Synchron. You also get to draw 2 cards, interrupt your opponent 3 times, and then we also had the face down Super Poly. So that's amazing, you know what I mean? It just goes to show how powerful the deck can be. And then the Vampire Sucker, every turn will be drawing you an additional card, which is amazing. But yeah, super strong deck. Honestly, really is a whole load of fun, and even the zombie world in and of itself can really interrupt a lot of decks. For example, Sword Souls. Sword Souls can't go into things like their Grandmaster because they don't have worms on the field anymore, they have zombies. We basic things like that, they can't banish cards from the graveyard either because they're no longer zombies, they're now zombies in the grave too. Just amazing overall counterplay against a lot of decks. I'll not sit and ramble about it too long, let's get into game number 2. Alright, getting into game number 2 here, we are going first yet again, and we have a very interesting hand. We're going to Pot of Prosperity here, banish 3. What we would usually banish is the Auroradon, the Access Code Talker, and then one of our suckers, because these 2 cards, you never summon them. Like, you don't even need them. Access Code's probably better. So we got a Foolish Burial off of the Prosperity, so we're gonna Foolish Burial out a Banshee. Banshee will banish itself to get Zombie World, and then the Unizombie, basically, it can send a zombie from deck to graveyard and a card from your hand to the graveyard to increase its level by 2 in total. Now, the sending of cards is not cost, it is effect, so we really do need to negate this Ash. Honestly, if it was cost to send it, we wouldn't even have stopped that Ash, because we would have just paid the cost and not got the level increase. Obviously, the level increase isn't what matters, it's being able to fill your graveyard. We discard the Jet Synchron to summon itself out back to the field afterwards. Then we go into Crystron and Hulk. Hulk then, of course, is going to summon out the Glow Up Bloom into Linkuriboh. Glow Up Bloom then will summon the Balladrock, and then Linkuriboh and Balladrock into Sucker. That is the bread and butter, but our opponent has Nibiru. So you know what, this is what happens whenever your bread and butter doesn't go to plan. What happens now? We've got a 4600 token on our field with 2k defense. During our standby phase, what makes this deck almost, not Nibiru proof, but Nibiru resistant, is that Balladrock is coming back to my field anyway. So our opponent goes for Prankhead Fansies, he's going to summon out the Meow Meow Moo. Instead of negating the Fansies, we decide we're going to preemptively banish the Meow Meow Moo. That's going to drastically weaken the overall power of the Prankhead strategy. So he's going to send the Dropsies to the graveyard and then bring Fansies out to the field. He's forced now just to go into your regular Thunder Dragon Fusion because he's lost his ability to continue into his plays. He's going to swing in, he's going to wipe out both our monsters. We don't really care because, again, our Balladrock comes back every single standby phase. We draw 1, grab our Balladrock, and now Balladrock has a live negate on the field. If our opponent goes to tribute his monster for the effect to nuke our field, we're just going to negate it. He can't really afford to do so. We're going to now Synchro Summon from the graveyard. This is a big OTK push. A very popular one in the deck. If you banish a Shiranui Spectral Sword and Solitaire from the graveyard, you Synchro Summon out in the Samurai Saga. That will trigger Solitaire's effect to resummon the Spectral Sword to the field, and then you go into the Shiranui Shogun Saga. Shogun Saga will banish the Samurai Saga from the graveyard to boost up by 25 and reduce one of your opponent's monsters by 500. Swing in over the big Prankhead boss monster. We're going to leave Nibiru where it is for now, except we're going to use Unizombie's effect to send a zombie from deck to graveyard, and onto that we're going to chain the Balladrock's effect to banish the Nibiru. Now we've got a backup Banshee in graveyard in case he gets rid of Zombie World. We're going to use our Balladrock and Unizombie, go into Anaconda send Fusion Destiny, and our opponent has had enough. We would have had the Fusion, so we would have had the DPE, pop 1 whenever we wanted, banish 1 whenever we wanted, and negate 1 whenever we wanted. So a whole load of interruption, a whole load of versatility and power when it comes to that strategy. So really impressed with that, basically breaking down in a very different way. So there you go. Even if your combo doesn't go according to plan, the recursion of Balladrock is so powerful and important that it will, in a lot of instances, be enough to bring you back from the brink and win you the game. So having said that, let's get into game number 3. Alrighty, getting into game number 3, we are in fact going second here, and our opponent's going to open up with Pot of Prosperity. So banish 6, and they immediately reveal that they're playing Flowinderies. Now I am including this replay for a reason. So we're playing against Flowinderies. He's going to grab Cross-Out Designator from the deck, so even if we did have a decent hand trap, it wouldn't mean a damn thing here. He's going to go Pot of Duality again. Prosperity and Duality in this deck is disgusting because I get to activate both. That's insane to me. They're going to grab Terraforming here for their field spell. Field spell then will allow them to normal summon on our turn, which basically means it's no longer our turn. It's our turn, you know, we're playing together. Flounderies and Rabina comes out. It will grab the Toucan from the deck, summon Toucan. Toucan is going to grab a banished spell or trap card, so he's going to grab the continuous spell, which allows him to tribute our monsters. He's going to go for Eaglin. Eaglin will grab Impen. He's going to tribute 2 then for the Emperor. Whenever this guy is summoned, he's going to add another spell or trap card from his deck to his hand. As well as that, it is an overall floodgate that stops us using the effects of special summoned monsters that are in attack mode. So really does dampen a lot of decks, this one included. So he's going to add back a bunch of his banished cards here. Impen's going to grab him the trap card that will allow him to normal summon on our turn regardless. Flounderies and set 2. So really rough situation. We don't have a lot to go for. The play we decided to go for off the bat was we were going to try to set up a board without having normal summons. So we're going to search for Jet Synchron. We'll discard Quick Draw. Our plan was then we could resummon from the graveyard the Jet Synchron to go into more plays. Our opponent goes into, I can't even keep up with the normal summons that they're doing here. They're going to go into all sorts of summons. And what they're going to use finally is their continuous spell to normal summon out the Apex Avian. Now, having a look at this board, what exactly can you do here? The answer is nothing. The answer is just nothing. You can't use the effect of special summon monsters in attack mode. He has an Omni Negate whenever he wants to in the form of the Apex Avian. And if we were to normal summon, he could simply get to normal summon again. So we scoop it up. I did include that for a reason. This deck is not unstoppable. Flounderies is brutal. So if you want to learn how to play against Flounderies, or if you want to adapt this deck to play better against Flounderies, then we're going to get to that in just a moment in the deck profile. So that's why we're including this. Let's get into the deck profile and we'll have a conversation about that. Alright, so getting into the deck profile, first and foremost, we're going to talk about what we've got, and then we're going to discuss how you can potentially adapt it to certain matchups, because this deck does operate very well against the majority of the metagame. It's just certain particular matchups it doesn't do very well with, so you sort of have to balance, like, okay, well, are you going to play its strengths, or are you going to weaken the deck overall to play its weaknesses? Like, what are you going to do? So we're going to chat about that now. First and foremost, we're going to cover off some of the core cards and engines. The main card of the deck is the Unizombie. So the Unizombie will allow you to send a monster from your deck to the graveyard and from your hand to the graveyard. So that's super important, because you need to have Zombie World face up on your field. How do you get Zombie World up on your field? Either by drawing it, terraforming, or by having the Necro World Banshee. So you can send the Necro World Banshee from your hand or your deck to the graveyard off of the effect of Unizombie. It will banish itself from the graveyard, and then it will activate Zombie World straight from your deck. So Unizombie is very important in that he is able to essentially activate Zombie World from the deck, as well as that he is a tuner, which allows him to facilitate your Crystron health plays if you decide to go into that. How are we making the Unizombie more consistent? We are playing Shiranui Solitaire. Shiranui Solitaire can tribute itself to summon a zombie tuner monster with 0 defense from the deck. That would include your Unizombie or your Spectral Sword or your Glow Up Bloom, essentially. So any of those 3, if you've already got the Unizombie, you can go for something like Spectral Sword, like you saw in the replay. Spectral Sword is a massive OTK machine. I would recommend playing at least one. Plague Spreader Zombie does a similar job, but I don't think it does it as well in combination with the Solitaire. So that's how we're using our Unizombie, basically. In terms of how the rest of the deck sort of works, there's not much core to this. The Glow Up Bloom is, of course, core when it's into the graveyard if you have Zombie World face up on the field, and you need to remember that if you send it to the grave without Zombie World, it will simply add the Baladrock to your hand, which is no good to you. So you need to have Zombie World up preemptively for the Glow Up Bloom's effect to be actually useful. Jet Synchron is one of the biggest starters in the deck, to be honest. We're only playing one of it because we have 3 copies of tuning. Jet Synchron is pretty much, if you have a way of getting Zombie World onto the field already, for example, if you draw into it, if you draw into Terraforming, if you have the Necro World Banshee in your hand, if you have any of these cards in your hand, then the Jet Synchron is full combo, because you will normal summon it, go into Linkuriboh, then using your you will be able to discard, if you have the Necro World Banshee in hand, you discard the Banshee to grab your Zombie World. Otherwise you already have the Zombie World and you just discard something else. but you will discard a card to resummon the Jet Synchron back to the field. Link 2 in the Crystron Hulk. Hulk will summon out Glow Up Bloom, and that's pretty much the play from there. Glow Up Bloom will be tributed for the Linkuriboh that's now in the graveyard. It will summon a Balladrock, Linkuriboh and Balladrock into Vampire Sucker. Full combo off of just your Jet Synchron plus any of these cards whatsoever. Your Foolish Burial, of course, facilitates the majority of the plays as well. So there's essentially 6 copies of your Zombie World, as well as 2 copies of Prosperity, and a whole bunch of cards that can send them from the deck to the graveyard, including Gozuki. Gozuki sends a zombie from deck to grave, so it will do it as well. So you have a whole load of plays, a whole bunch of plays to get Zombie World. So if you can get Zombie World, Jet Synchron becomes full combo. You can play more of this guy if you want. He really is that good. And then with the rest of it, we're pretty much just playing our core engines, like our DPE engine. We are playing this, and we're going to get to that in a moment, and its significance here. You saw it in the gameplay, very, very powerful. We're playing, in terms of interruptions, optional interruptions, we're playing Effective Healer to help with the Florindaries matchup, although I'll admit it's still a bit rough. Max C because it's Max C, Ash Blossom because it's a zombie tuner as well as a fantastic hand trap, so Ash Blossom holds a lot of synergy with the deck. Then you have Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is a very good extender in this because you are sending a lot of your cards from the deck to the graveyard, so Monster Reborn becomes a fantastic extender. Of course, you can replace this card with whatever you want. We're playing Nibiru the Primal Being because it's a decent card. You can definitely cut this, though it's not really all that great in the current meta. Super Poly. Super Poly is really, really strong in this deck because you have, not only do you have the typical targets like the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, you also have the Dragon Necro Never Soul Dragon. So if this guy is simply a fusion of 2 zombies, and because of Zombie World, all the monsters on the field become zombies. So this is basically a fusion of any 2 monsters on the field using your Super Poly. Very, very powerful. As a monster himself, he is essentially a 3k beater. He does have a really funky effect that summons tokens and that, but he's mainly there for a Super Poly target to remove your opponent's monsters and as a big 3k beat stick. So really, really cool. I would say Super Poly, given how the adventure engine is shifting the metagame and how important it's going to be for us to be able to stop things like these massive broken boards, as long as you can get Zombie World onto the field through one method or another, you will be able to completely clean someone out with Super Poly because it can't be responded to. So definitely a very, very important card. And the last one is Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave again stops interruptions. This is a more combo oriented version of the deck, so you don't really want to be interrupted. So Called by the Grave is here for that particular reason. So that's the main deck, why things are the way they are. In terms of the extra deck, we've covered these 2 already as Super Poly targets. DPE we've covered. Formula Synchron is part of the core combo to be summoned off of Hulk during your opponent's turn. That allows you to, on your opponent's turn, synchro summon into Baron de Fleur using your Balladrock. So very, very important card to have. Technically, you could find substitutes for this. This could be something like the Shooting Razor Dragon if you wanted to slightly adjust how the deck worked, but any level 2 tuner basically will do it. Samurai Saga and the Shogun Saga are here for the Spectral Sword OTK. So you banish this and the Solitaire from the graveyard to synchro summon into Samurai Saga. Solitaire then resummons the Spectral Sword out to the field. Then you use your Samurai Saga plus your level 2 Spectral Sword to go into the Shogun Saga. Shogun Saga banishes a zombie from your graveyard to boost its attack points by that monster's attack points. So if you have, you will have a 2500 beta there. Boost up by 2500. Samurai Saga, when it's banished, will reduce one of your opponent's cards by 500. So you've got a 5500 beat stick. You're reducing one of theirs by 500. So it is great for going into OTKs. Fantastic card. I would say this is a pretty integral combo. Of course, if you don't want to play Spectral Sword, you can take these guys out and play anything else, so that's fine. But I think these 2 really do add a lot to the deck. We have Baron de Fleur, of course, as a synchro summon target off of our Formula Synchron. You can also play Ching Ying if you want to. I don't think playing both isn't necessary because you're not going to be able to really go into both. But one or the other should be fine, whichever you prefer. Linkuriboh is core to the combo, Crystron Hulk core to the combo, Vampire Sucker is core-ish to the combo. The reason Vampire Sucker is so good is that after you use the effective glow up bloom, you're locked into only zombie monsters. So realistically, you've got a choice between this and what like the Avenged Slayer. I think Vampire Sucker is way better because you basically just get to draw additional cards, which is something that the deck really lacks, honestly. So your first turn play, you're usually going to deplete either your entire hand or at least like 4 cards out of your hand. So in order for you to continue off in some sort of grind game, you need to get as much card advantage as you possibly can. With the core combo, you're going to draw 2 cards during your opponent's turn. That's going to really help, and if you can keep the Vampire Sucker around, it's just going to get more and more and more. So that's, I do think Vampire Sucker is pretty core to how the deck functions. It also comes in handy with Super Poly. So often making sure you have a card to discard off of Super Poly is such a big thing, and the Vampire Sucker does really help with that. We have Verte Anaconda, of course, for the DPE combo. It also can send Super Poly, so it's also really good for that as well. Don't forget about that interaction. We have the Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. This is here for, in theory, if you're able to go into the, like if you have the Jet Synchron in your hand, but you don't have a way to get in the zombie world, this means that you'll still be able to, at the very least, summon out your Baron de Fleur. So something basically worth bearing in mind. You can totally cut this. I don't think I have ever used it. You can cut this in favor for something more interesting, maybe a Dragostapelia, something like that. Whatever it is you fancy, it's in here for now, but you can totally take it out. Same for Access Code Talker. On occasion, you can extend up into Access Code Talker. It's not that difficult to do with this deck, to be honest. I haven't needed to do it myself, but I can definitely see a world in which Access Code Talker becomes good. So maybe you want to replace Auroradon with the likes of Unicorn to make that climb a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Totally something you could do. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire deck. Now, the deck does falter in particular against Flowboundaries. So if you want to be playing against Flowboundaries, you can replace any of these cards. You can replace the DPE engine, for example, with cards like Lightning Storm. I think Lightning Storm is going to be really strong in the current metagame. You can go for Imperm, which is going to be really strong in favor of maybe Maxi. Things like this you can totally do to make the deck a little bit more powerful against Flowboundaries. It is going to give you a lot of trouble if you don't play it 1-for-1 again, an amazing card as well. There are lots of really strong options for this deck. You can basically do whatever you want. Again, you've seen mine, it's all over the place, but it's still really powerful. So take that as inspiration. I've been talking here for long enough as it is, so I'm going to leave it there. If you do like anything that you are seeing and you want to see more of it, feel free to subscribe. Again, it doesn't cost you anything and it really does help me out. And then leave your comments on anything you want to see. And on that note, I'll leave it with you. See y'all later.